Welcome to Game of Books with Cathi in South Dakota.
That's me, and Christie in South Florida.
That's me. We're two newbie writers sharing our take on wine, food, and mystery books.
And the authors who write them. Join us for the fun. Hey, everybody, and happy birthday, Christie!
Thank you, Cathi. I am so excited that this episode is actually coming out on my birthday. And you know, several of my favorite things are food, wine, and conversations with you. So,
thank
you.
It's a pretty great way to celebrate.
I know. And it's a bonus that this book that we're discussing today is the latest in one of my favorite thriller series. So,
isn't that perfect?
Excited. Yeah,
it is exciting. It's funny. I hadn't thought about this, Christie, but I just realized that Daniel Silva's books come out annually, just a few weeks always before my birthday, and I always am tempted to save them to read them on my birthday.
Oh, you know what? We should do a podcast, even if it's the off season. We should do your birthday podcast with Daniel Silva's book.
Yes, we should.
If it comes out in time for us to be able to read it for your birthday.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay. Anyway, so I hope it's a great birthday episode. And to get to today's book is When You See Me by Lisa Gardner. And I am a fan of hers as well. But since it's your birthday, I'm letting you run the show. But it kind of makes me laugh because, frankly, you run the show most of the time anyway. You just tell me what to do, and I just show up and do it.
That is not true. That is
yes,
not
it
true.
Is.
I use your guidance all the time. My God.
Okay, so tell us what, obviously, the most important thing is what wine you chose.
Yeah. Okay, so I chose a Zinfandel. Because I love Zinfandels. It's the Ravenswood Zinfandel.
Lovely.
And yes. And so you can go ahead and give it a taste.
Okay.
Let me move You can go ahead and give it a taste while I give you some of the description.
Okay.
So this is a Lodi Zin, which means it comes from Lodi region, I think, of California. Explodes with blueberries, black plums, vanilla, and cocoa. Lush and mouth-filling with incredibly silky tannins that slide into a long, flavorful finish.
Okay.
It says you can uncork it now for a tempting taste or cellar for up to 10 years of flavor development.
Wow.
I know. I'm thinking, what do you think? I should get an extra bottle and save it, and then on, our 10th year podcast.
Our anniversary.
Yeah.
So
what do you think?
I've had this before, in full disclosure, and I like this wine very much. A friend of mine had introduced me to it, and I think it is a great, very drinkable wine.
Yes.
So, I don't have the descriptions that they do, but it's very drinkable, is what I would say.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's, so I was looking up also, like when I was looking up Zinfandel, I guess to see what to pair it with or something. Mm-hmm. I came across this website by, now I don't know, it's I think Jancis Robinson, but it could be Jan Cis Robinson, but anyway, it's JANCIS Robinson.com.
Okay.
And this person does all kinds of wine information. And on their page about Zinfandel wines, the first line is, "The story of Zinfandel is like a romantic thriller, a mystery I have been following over the last 30 years, and one that was solved only a few years ago."
Oh my goodness.
So I was like, oh, this is perfect.
It's perfect.
I know. And Ravenswood, doesn't that sound spooky? So I was like, okay,
it does.
We're going. It's in the theme, but you have to. We'll put the link on our blog, but it goes into this long story of the history of the California Zinfandel vines, because they have these old vines, like it probably says old vines on your bottle. If you got that particular one of the Ravenswood, because apparently they have a lot of Zinfandels. But anyway, so the vines, the old vines in California, nobody really knows where they came from, or at least they didn't. And they thought, well, there's a lot of Zinfandel wines in France, so maybe it came from France. But then, genetic testing came along, and that didn't, so they actually genetically test these vines, and they finally traced it to like a small area of Italy. So they thought, oh, we've solved it, except then it turns out that came from a parent vine area that's even older in Croatia. So apparently...
Really?
The California Zinfandel vines are originally from Croatia. Isn't that funny?
That is so... Okay. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And but it goes into a lot of stuff about, the different wines and how apparently Zinfandels are very difficult to harvest correctly. In other words, if you don't do it the right way, they get too many grapes and then it doesn't taste right or something like that. And so for a while, they didn't do much with them. And then they came up with the white Zinfandel that we did before.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, yeah.
So they had a resurgence around then. And so now now they're back to, they determine they're much better red. And so, so they have perfected on how to harvest them correctly to make good Zinfandel. So anyway, it's yummy. I'm going to have another sip.
Yeah. Now I'm looking at the Zinfandel with a little more respect now, I guess. I'm not sure.
Yes, there you go.
Really made an effort to survive. I
well,
really
apparently
like
California is like perfect for growing it too.
I have heard that's
why they just go crazy out there, and that's why, I don't know. There's
okay, this is showing my complete ignorance here, but so do other countries produce Zinfandel grapes and wine then?
Yes,
like
yes. I mean, yeah, because like I said, there is Zinfandel grapes in France and there's Zinfandel grapes in Italy, but from the lineage they determined, so they're the same variety, but I don't know, the French ones, maybe they started in France or started somewhere else and then didn't come to California first, the Croatians.
I think we need to find some Croatian Zinfandel sometime.
I know.
I'm curious. I know. Yeah, or Italian or French. It'd be kind of fun to compare.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday. Cheers.
Yes, thank you. Cheers. Okay, so I forgot to tell you, we got to have some food to go with this at our birthday book club, whatever you want to call it. When You See Me. Did you see the title I gave it? When You See Me, I'll Be Older.
I was very amused by that.
Because I will be older when you see me.
Yes.
But anyway, so Lisa Gardner's book is good. And in this book, there was a lot of eating at one point. I don't know if you remember, but one of the characters, Flora, definitely had to eat a lot, and we're not going to give anything away except for it was a testing type thing, and what she was eating was pretty much junk food. It was, well, not junk food, but just not heart healthy food, I would say. Like,
right.
Barbecue, and this was set in the mountains of North Carolina, which I'm familiar with, so we do like barbecue, but they also, burgers, fries, anything like this American kind of food. Well, apparently it goes perfectly with Zinfandel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Zinfandel also goes good with lamb, but it does not go good with seafood. So I was like, okay, so there we go. We can kind of go with the theme of the book, and who doesn't like, some sliders or some little mini pork barbecue sandwiches, or, throw in some coleslaw if you want to be healthy, all that kind of stuff. And I think that would be just fun at a book club to drink Zinfandel and eat that. What do you think?
I think that sounds lovely, actually. I love, I like a shredded pork sandwich for sure, but I like it when they are on sliders. I like a little, especially for entertaining, like you would at a book club. I like a small little
because that's how I am too. I like and you could go back to my one of the things listed for Zinfandel was the bacon wrapped dates. We can go back to that too. That's a little too high class for the book. But if you want to get some I don't know, fruit in there or something.
Yeah. So here's a question for you, since you are from this area and where pork sandwiches are quite
or I've lived there.
Yes, that's right. Do you ever put the coleslaw on the sandwich instead of on the side? I love it on the sandwich.
Oh yeah. I think doesn't everybody? I don't know.
I don't know, but I
so
I don't
you
think
guys
so.
you guys probably have pork. You have barbecue up there too, don't you? Or not as much?
Yeah, we do. I mean, I make it a lot. I mean, I don't think it's...
Yes, I do. In fact, I'm not a big coleslaw eater on its own, even,
right, me either.
but I like it on the sandwich. I think it adds a little, from the spice of the barbecue to the kind of like, because I'm not a mayonnaise eater either, but coleslaw is good. I do. And I like to put it on my sandwich. And I did that because we would get pork barbecue sandwiches in high school, a lot. And I would do that every time, like a bit of coleslaw on it.
It's funny. My husband doesn't like coleslaw either. I'm not sure what it is, but he doesn't care for it. But what he does love on a pork sandwich is a really good kosher dill pickle.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that, and that does sound good too.
Yeah,
It's along the same lines. I mean, cabbage, cucumber, whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it's that crunch. That fresh crunch is a good pairing with the pork.
Ugh, now I'm getting so hungry.
I know. I was thinking maybe I'll have to make some pork sandwiches for you when you come visit.
I know. Like,
Christie's first trip to South Dakota is coming up, just so everybody knows.
I know. I've been laying out my winter jackets and all. I'm excited. I get to wear it all. I'm going to be I'm going to be the best dressed South Dakotan because I'll be like, wow,
she pulled
she
out
wearing
everything.
that? I'm like, it's the only time I've gotten to wear this thing that was gifted to me. And okay, so now that we have our food and wine, let's talk about When You See Me by Lisa Gardner.
Let's. So first we should say something about Lisa Gardner. I mean, listen, I assume many of our readers have heard of her, have read her books, but in case they don't, or in case they don't really know the full level of her rock star status.
Yes.
She is a New York Times #1 best-selling author of 20 suspense novels.
Wow.
20, I know. Including The Neighbor, which won Thriller of the Year. 4 of her books have been made into TV movies. In case you're interested, it's At the Midnight Hour, The Perfect Husband, The Survivors Club, and Hyde.
I feel like I've heard of some of those, but
I know I kind of want to look now and see where they were at. But so she lives in New Hampshire and is a prolific writer.
I haven't read all 20 of her books. But I have read the D.D. Warren, who's the detective, and she teams up with Flora Dane, who's a former victim turned vigilante. And this is like the 3rd or 4th since Flora Dane was introduced. So I guess there's a couple D.D. Warren ones before that, and then once Flora Dane came along. You know how characters can just kind of jump in and then stick, So
she's a very interesting character. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm so glad that I read like the first one, because now I kind of know the history. I'm kind of curious on your aspect on whether you got enough of the background in just this one to be able to get into the characters or not.
Yeah. So what's interesting is I have read the previous D.D. Warren novel. So that just maybe it was 2 books
Oh, okay.
ago.
So, all right. So there you go.
But I hadn't read the initial one. And so I would like to actually go back and see, as you say, where these characters came from and how they got, kind of to where they're at.
Right.
Not that you have to, but I think, it's in a series, but it certainly stands on its own. But that's what's great about her books is it makes you want to go back and read her back catalog.
Yes. And it reminds me of when I first read like one of the Harry Bosch books.
Yeah.
From Michael Connelly. Mm-hmm. I got the name right this time, right? Michael Connelly?
You did, yeah.
So, but I did the same thing. I read this book and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to know what happened to this character, 10 years ago when, because those have been going on forever. So, and now I'm doing the same thing because Kimberly Quincy, who's the FBI agent in this one, has books about that she was introduced in a whole different series, like the FBI series. And so now I want to go read those because I'm like, oh, I want to know more about her life because she sounds interesting,
I did too, actually. And so this book is so interesting because it's got these different perspectives, these 3 women, right? This Flora Dane, who's a vigilante. She's a previous victim, right? Mm-hmm. And then we've got D.D. Warren, who's a Boston detective. Mm-hmm. And then we've got the FBI agent, Kimberly Quincy. And so I loved the 3 different points of view of each of these women. I thought that was woven in so great.
I know. And you kind of get, because of their histories, you could see, their different takes on things, but you could also see how the fact that they were women, they might see things in a certain way that kind of overlapped with each other, and they were strong women, just have different paths along the way. So I thought the characters are really good, and of course, the stories are always good.
We'll get to that later. As I say, they're so well researched. We'll get to that in a minute here, but I wanted to know what you thought about. I think it's such an interesting concept for a writer to, take a character that obviously is appealing to you and think, I'm going to develop a whole series just on that character. And I wonder if she had that planned out in advance or she just wrote, the
right.
And I wonder if was Kimberly Quincy written first or D.D. Warren written first?
I think Kimberly Quincy was written first.
Okay.
And it was but she came on, I think, as there was another character who was the main character, and she was like the daughter or when I was looking, I can't remember exactly, but it was like the daughter of the FBI agent who also became an FBI agent. And so they were kind of working together or something along those lines. And I think as a writer, that would be so much fun. In fact, that's what you want to do. Like I want to do anyway, because you come up with all these crazy characters along the way. And then you're like, wow, it would be really fun to just, see where that character goes. Because, some of them are kind of fun and they're interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and so I would be very curious to know if it just started organically and Lisa thought, oh, I want to spend more time with this woman, so I'm going to, delve into her, or if that was an intentional choice.
I know. Lisa, come talk to us. We want to know.
Call us.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a good book, and I think it would be a good book club book, and it was a good birthday book. So there you go.
Writer's perspective. So, Lisa Gardner is a self-described research junkie, which, we can identify with.
I know.
That's the fun stuff, right? I mean.
Yeah. I often fall into a rabbit hole of research, where I'm on the computer and I don't want to stop researching. So, unfortunately, not everybody finds the information that I come up with as cool as I do. They don't know. They don't want to hear me anymore.
That's funny you say that. We have these family conversations where everyone brings up what they're interested in, right? Like my husband really loves research and science and stuff. And so he'll be like, so did anybody know? And then he'll have this just really bizarre, interesting fact. And everyone's face is like, oh, that is great. And then if I were to do the same thing with what I was researching, it's just everyone's kind of polite, right?
I know. Definitely.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah. So on Lisa's website, she has sort of a tutorial, an article where she gives tips on the 8 ways research can kill your novel.
I love that.
Right? Yeah. And I thought that was so fascinating because, just like people don't want to hear us talk about it, they don't want to read about it either, probably.
Right. Yeah, no, it's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. So I found those so interesting. I mean, did you read over them?
I did. And I thought, oh, am I guilty?
I know. Me too. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like one of them that I was, I think I am guilty of, but it's not like terrible, but it says write first, edit last.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you write it and you don't edit it. But then other times you try to just edit it along the way. And that's what I kind of do. And then I realize somebody doesn't understand what I'm saying because I learned all this stuff, but I don't want to overburden them. And then they're like, what is she talking about? I don't know anything about that. So you have to kind of write it all out and then pick out, I think is what she's saying, pick out what is not necessary and you can discard that, but don't get caught up, at the beginning. But you have to do it. You have to dump it.
You definitely have to you have to prune it back for sure. Yeah. So one of the things I really liked about this is number 6. She says some details just don't belong in fiction, which is so true, right? When you go down the rabbit hole of looking up research, some of it just isn't very sexy, right? Like we're trying to entertain people, not inform them. And I think those are really big differences, right? And she gives a couple pretty graphic examples. She says, like no one really wants to read about the actual details of maybe a gynecological exam or a colonoscopy. Important information in the real world, but for entertainment, there's things we can parse back, right?
Can you imagine like you're reading a mystery novel and they take out time for the colonoscopy? That would be so funny.
It'd be like, I gotta go. Stop this investigation because I have my colonoscopy appointment today. I mean, you're not going to, no.
And another one I really like too. I mean, we could go on, but this one, we have a couple that just stood out to us. And I thought the one where she talks about real procedures still need fictional help. And And, because real police work is sometimes very slow and excruciating.
Always. It's just paperwork and desk work and just the slow slog,
I know. And can you imagine? Like, I do remember I was one time at a critique group, and it was just strangers that kind of met. It was a meetup. And I remember this one guy, oh my gosh. We had every detail of he was an office worker, no less. So it was really, really boring. I was like, okay, you're going to answer the phone now. And then we're going to, so it's awesome. True that, you in your head, you're trying to replay it all, but you also have to think about, hey, the person on the other end probably really doesn't care that much about, what kind of phone service you have in the office or something.
It's funny you mentioned the Harry Bosch series from Michael Connelly. Did you ever watch the Bosch Amazon series?
Yes, I started it. Oh my gosh.
It's so good.
I forgot that I hadn't continued it because
everybody
you get
needs
caught up
to
with different
binge
things.
that. It's great.
I
It
know.
is great. Yeah.
I've read every single one of the books, so it's so
Have
weird
you
to me.
really?
It's like, yeah, I have.
Every single one.
Yes, I went on I did every one of them. That's what I told you. I read one of them, and then I had to go back, and I just read every single one. And then,
Wow.
I mean, I might not have read the very last one that came out because it probably came out while we've been doing this podcast. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have time to read anything else.
Right.
But yeah. And so that's why that's why I got Amazon Prime to watch that. And then I forgot after I watched a few episodes, something happened and I had to run around in my life. And
yeah. Well, but that's a perfect example is that you don't see Harry Bosch doing the details of normal life, right? No one wants to see that. They want to just see him cut to it. So that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't see him going to the bathroom ever.
And I'm glad for that. I really am. I'm very appreciative.
I am too. Unless they need to be in the bathroom for a reason to do with the crime. Otherwise, we don't need to know, right?
No. Okay, Christy. So do you have any big birthday plans? I was obviously going to come down and I had to cancel and I'm so sorry. But I think I want to know what I'm missing. Maybe not. What do you have planned?
You don't want to know because this is going to be fun. Well, I hope it's going to be fun. I'm probably going to, I don't know. That whole day I'm going to take off. It's a Friday, right? So
it is
after
a Friday.
I listen, I'm going to get up. I'm going to listen to this podcast because I always like to do that on Friday mornings and do my little walk. So that's a great way to start. And then probably go to lunch with my dad or something, family. And then in the evening, I want to take a water taxi ride.
Oh.
Did you know we have water taxis down here?
No.
Yeah, so that's a way to kind of get around. They're not like on call, so they have like a route and you can get on and the taxi drivers or the boat drivers, I guess, are knowledgeable about, the mansions that you're seeing and the famous, that kind of tour. And so you do it from the water.
Oh, fun.
And so I thought this would be so much fun. And Connor's going to be down, our sound editor, with his girlfriend. So I wanted her to be able to see all the sights from the water. And we'll just kind of maybe stop and have a cocktail here and there. And
that sounds so great.
Yeah. So
I am sorry I'm missing that. My goodness.
I know. I know. But we'll reenact it with like cross country skiing or something up there. How's that? You could say this tree was planted by whatever.
That's awesome.
That was a fun episode.
It was
start
fun.
out my birthday. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to enjoy laughing and walking and listening to it.
Great. Well, join us next week where we talk about The Empty Bed by Nina Sadowski. And then the following week, we are having a Corks and Conversation episode with the author herself.
Yes, which will be lots of fun.
Lots of fun. So all good things. Christy's birthday, Nina Sadowski. It's all good.
Yeah. All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks to our mysterious foodies out there for listening and sharing. Check out our website, gameofbookspodcast.com, where you can find links to all we talk about. And if you subscribe to our weekly newsletter, you can get those links sent directly to you, along with any exciting updates. We are also on Facebook and Twitter under @GOBWriters.
And if you enjoyed this episode as much as we did, we would love to hear from you, and please subscribe to Game of Books wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss any of our book club ideas and Corks and Conversations with award-winning and best-selling authors.
That's all for today's episode of Game of Books Podcast, where we share food, wine, and mystery every Friday morning, just in time for the weekend.
This is Christy
and Cathi
saying thanks for listening.
Bye,
everybody.